let's just get started. LeeAnn Brook, thank you. Welcome.
Thank you very much. I'm excited to be here.
Okay. And tell us a little bit about your history, how long you've been in Nevada County.
I've been up here, I think, 45 years. I had my graphic design business in the Bay Area and then up here for 40 years. And the past 5 years, I had the gallery. And that was in graphic design. And I had been a fine artist for the past 20 years. So I came from the East Coast. I worked at an ad agency in Boston, to an agency in the Bay Area, and then up here. Mm-hmm. So it was interesting, when the Center for the Arts asked if I could give a talk, on art. I'm mostly, because of my graphic design background, people want me to talk about marketing. And I said, I don't want to talk about marketing. Not just because I've given a lot of talks on marketing, but I felt what would be most helpful and most what's on our minds these days is just creativity right now and how it really has affected our lives, can affect our lives. So I want to talk about the whole gamut because at my age right now, I feel like I've gone through the whole gamut almost. It's been an amazing ride, especially this last year during COVID, when I had to close the gallery after 5 years.
Let's start with the gallery. I know we have some pictures of the gallery in case some people aren't familiar with it, but it was just downtown Nevada City, and
right.
You closed it at the beginning of COVID.
Right. It started in 2015. I was at one street over for 3 years, and at this location here on the screen, I was here for 2 years. Gorgeous 2,000 square foot building, and it was kind of my dream. Starting out in the smaller gallery really allowed me to test the waters. This one, I just felt like this is it. I know I can do it. So you see way in the back there, that was where my studio was. And because you go up a few stairs and it had skylights and it was just an absolute artist dream studio. Now, I wouldn't say for all artists because a lot of artists hate talking to the public, really would much rather kind of be in a hole and painting. And I'm a little bit of both. I love talking about art and I love really comfortable talking with customers that came into the gallery about art. And I definitely would come in off hours and paint when I could have more private time. This was during one of the openings. We had gallery openings once a month where I featured guest artists, anywhere from photography to sculpture, painting. The gallery just mushroomed into way more than I imagined it would be. We also had art talks every once in a while. This is Frank Francis, that was a photographer. And all of a sudden, it became this community hub that people were starving for the conversation. They just wanted to talk. And we had very casual talks of people standing up in the studio talking. It was really an amazing time. So in March of 2020, when COVID hit, I literally was a week away from signing renewal on my lease. I had been there for 2 years and I was going to renew. That's my dryer buzzer going off, which I didn't turn off. So just so you know, this is my home studio with my dryer going off. But anyway, so COVID hit and I thought, this is real. This is really going to have a long-term effect on our community, but especially financially on the gallery. There would be no potential for having any art events, any art talks. I was even nervous about people coming in just retail at the counter. And so I talked with a lot of mentors that I have and really thought hard about it. In about a week, a very short period of time, I had 2 employees. And I decided really quickly that this is it. The timing, I need to really pay attention to this. The fact that my lease was going to be up. I knew I had a home studio. It's a fraction of the size, but I knew I could move home again and operate at least my studio and a little bit of a gallery out of at home. So I packed up really quickly, even though I could have been in the building another month. I packed up my stuff really quickly and moved home. I just couldn't wait to get out and to be safe, to be in my home. So that was a really, really hard decision because I made so many new friends and contacts in the community. So this is the entry to my studio door. Basically, I live above the store. I have a 2-story house. This was a whole ground floor garage that I converted into studio space. So this is my little tiny studio. The whole downstairs is 800 square feet. This is about 200 square feet, but I've done 60 by 72 paintings in this area before, so I knew I could do it. So all my art supplies are right at my fingertips. And so if I need to back up from painting, I basically back up outside the studio door, out onto patio to really, and this is the 60 by 72 actually, out on the patio. So when I'm on studio tour, people can come visit, and I have work outside as well as in the studio. This is a painting. This is the first painting I did actually after I moved, after not painting, I think for 2 months, because I and the world was in shock with COVID. Just
Is that the one behind you right now?
It's the same one. Yes, yes. I couldn't paint. I could not paint for 2 months. And that's okay, I think, important to take a break at times. But I really knew in my heart that whatever I did start again, it needed to be different because I was different. We were different. And so I just spent a lot of time thinking about it. And then I finally started playing around, and this was a whole new direction for me. I've always worked in more contemporary, mixed media. This one was quite abstract, and the whole painting, I don't know if you can see it behind me, but it's called Wellspring. And the idea definitely was a reflection of the times of, out of all this that we were going through, there was going to be this wellspring of creativity, wellspring of getting to know each other. There was going to be amazing things I just knew that was going to happen out of this. But it was still pretty early on. It was about 2 months in. Anyway, and this is where I sit today. And I'm not quite sure. Obviously, we didn't know we were going to be here, but the thing that I've learned the most about being in art is, number one, the amount of focus that it takes, the focus it takes to paint, to talk to somebody, to run a gallery, to make a financial decision of how's this going to impact my finances if I close the gallery, because it was doing well. Back to, oh my God, nobody's going to be able to find me when I move home. But the fact that I feel like flexibility is so important in any decision making we make in our lives. You have to always have something in your back pocket, kind of the what ifs. Many years ago, when I first moved up here, I took a weaving class from someone. And I did this beautiful weaving. I thought it was beautiful. But she says, what are you going to hang it on? And I said, well, I don't know. And she says, well, I know what it would look like, but I don't see it. She says, well, here's a coat hanger, bend it into a shape that you think it should be. Well, I made this gorgeous hanger, but the thing that she gifted me was that it can be anything you want it to be. And so you always have to have that vision, I think, in your back pocket. Okay, what if I did close the gallery? What would that look like? What if nobody found me at my home studio? What would that look like? How would I resolve that? And I found out in October, when I then did the studio tour, people were just starting to come outside with a mask on, and I didn't think I was going to see anybody. And it was probably the best studio tour I had done in 20 years. People, number one, were so excited to get out and just talk to other people. And it was all very well protected and everything. And I did the distance markers and all. But the amazing thing is that people were buying art. I really thought that the beginning of when I closed the gallery, that there would be a huge economic downturn as far as art buying. You know, you think it's all doom and gloom. And, you know, the art world has fared very well in the past year. And people were buying, a lot of people that knew me, a lot of people that didn't. And I was really, really shocked. But I to this day, I still have something else in the back of my mind, like what's next? Because I feel like that flexibility is really important to always have in mind, whether it's just your daily life or a career. So,
do you think about reopening the gallery?
yeah, people ask me that a lot. I mean, the first thing they say when they see me on the street is, that was the smartest decision I've ever seen anybody make. And I mean, I really bailed. I absolutely bailed. I thought about it a week and I just didn't even want to be there. And but I did have the thought, I love Nevada City and Grass Valley. And I did definitely have the thought, it's like, if things really come back and things come around and there's a need, and if there's a desire on my end, I would do it again. But I don't know who I'm going to be in a year. Right now, I'm spending a lot of time traveling in a camper. That gets us out into areas of inspiration for painting a lot. And so right now, I'm really busy painting. I'm getting ready for a couple of shows. And I'm exploring, once again, I took probably from December for the past 2 months, I went back to painting really small. Most of my work is quite large, but I wanted to do more exploration. So here I am at home. What else are you going to do? It's COVID and not much to do. I started working on these really small canvas sheets just to work out new color palettes, new ways of painting, more abstract. It was just a real mission of mine. And now I just started painting large again. But I did it because I can. And we can decide right now to write a book or whatever because we can. We have this time. And there still is not a day that I don't wake up that I just cannot wait to start my day working in my field in art. So I even at this old age.
And do you feel like COVID is still very much influencing what you're painting?
It never was. There was never COVID influencing me painting. It was just the fact that I was home and it was a much more quiet. It's like it was what a luxury to not have any interruptions. Retail, it was a balancing act. It's like I love talking with people, and I was more the problem because I would be painting and then I'd go down and say hi to somebody. But as far as COVID, you said, art in the time of COVID. It really was just doing what I do. And the thing that it did provide me, though, is that it took the anxiety away. When I would get absorbed into my painting, all of a sudden I realized all the things I'd be worrying about, grandchildren I can't see, family that I can't see. Is anybody going to get sick? We all been through that. All of a sudden, when I really was focused on painting, and it was a good test for me, am I really focused on what's in front of me, not what's in my head going off. All of a sudden I go, oh God, I'm really in my work. And that was just a godsend, much more so, I think, than I've ever realized. I've always been able to really focus, but I didn't realize what a gift that was to take me away from that anxiety.
Yeah, I think, the COVID is a double-edged sword, and it definitely has a silver lining in some ways, and maybe for painters and creative types, and, it's given us more time alone. But giving up the gallery, which was a beautiful gallery and really appreciated by the community, is a big sacrifice. So
Yeah, it was really hard. Mostly it was so, for years I had in graphic design a professional office, and I had never really been in retail. I'd never done it. As a matter of fact, I see Sarah Lazard in the audience, who owns Yuba Blue. And I think Sarah's one of the first ones that I called when I was going to open the gallery. I said, Sarah, what do I do? What does the cash register do? I have no idea what I'm doing. Sarah says, oh, you'll be fine. But it was just, I had never done retail. So it was really exciting. But most of all, it was so great to really feel like I was really a part of the downtown community. So who knows? But we all are like finding our own creative way and how we continue to build these communities back up again right now. And art is a crucial part of it.
is there another studio tour coming up? Will there be another one?
Yeah, there'll be another one in October. It's every year in October. And, they had probably half the amount of people last year just because it was so uncertain, and kind of last minute, I decided to go for it. I initially hadn't planned on it, but I thought, I should just try it. I can make my studio safe and everything. This year, I think it will be really good. And it's a really important time to support artists. So many artists are struggling through this. I've been doing this for 20 years and I have a really good client base and I do a lot of marketing, but I really stay in touch with my collectors and just friends. So the studio tour, a lot of times for a lot of artists, this is the one time that their opportunity to sell. So it's so important to go out there and support our community artists. There's a lot of new people here too, and there's some exciting work being done. But it's such a great way. It's so unique. But I tell you, when we do travel in Mendocino or wherever, whenever I see another town's going to have a studio tour, we're always on it. We always love to go on it. It's a really great thing. The Center for the Arts puts on the studio tour and has a little preview show in the gallery just like a week before it opens. So it's a really great venue for us to show our work in also.
Yeah. And when you've been traveling around, are you seeing galleries open now?
Oh yeah, definitely. Some, they're unlimited capacity, but usually galleries are not crammed with people anyways. It's the events that it's changed. You really can't have any sort of events, which typically, gallery opening is what everybody loves to go to. And we're headed down to Palm Springs right now, and it'll be interesting to see what it's like. But, we have to be innovative about it, definitely. But there are a lot of artists are showing their work, on Zoom. They're doing a tour of their studio. So people are, FaceTime. People are doing what they can with it.
Or set up, something outside, right?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
So you have a book you wanted to tell us about, I know?
Yeah, the book was an interesting book that was just in Art News magazine, and it's by a French neurologist, and it's all in French. So if you don't read French, you'll have to wait. But it's called Art That Heals. And we've all know there's been a lot of talk about art in healing. But this one is amazing because in 2019, the World Health Organization released another report that with over 3,000 studies of the impact that art can have on healing. And he goes in detail and talks about how you can actually see the neurons in the brain. They've actually studied it. When a person looks at a piece of art or paints, the neurons change in your brain. It's like it's an immediate reaction. So much that they say the person viewing the art actually almost has the experience of either being in the painting or being the artist painting it. So that's something that was really fascinating to me. They also, in Canada, they're bringing certain patients with illnesses, they're probably not doing it right now, but with illnesses from hospitals into museums and wheeling them in to actually go see paintings. And that there's cases where it actually did heal a certain malady. And here we are, after the past year, boy, do we need healing. And, museums, the De Young has just started to open up, limited capacity, but it's so important to go see art in person. Look at it, in a storefront if you can. But that book, that was really fascinating to me.
Yeah, I definitely feel like, going to a gallery, going to a museum, anything that actually involves me leaving my house would seem like such a treat,
Anything, yeah.
The kind of thing you really appreciate now.
Yeah,
Or anything, right? Hey, folks, please, if you have any questions for LeeAnn, just type them over in the chat, which you can, let's see, Dee would like to know the author of the book, Art That Heals.
Yes, it is Paier Lemarquis, Lemarquis.
Maybe somebody.
And the title, well, if you look up art news on the internet and then his name, and then you'll be able to read the article.
Indy points out, music has been proven to heal. It even causes Alzheimer's patients to remember and converse. So it's good to hear that visual art is also healing. Yes,
absolutely. Music. That's the other thing I was going to say is I can't paint without music. I love to listen to jazz, is my favorite. But I actually had it on before we started the interview because I was kind of nervous. So art heals, Hindi, yes.
Indy also points out that your gallery was beautifully designed and curated and very missed.
Oh, thank you so much, Indy. Thank you. I had a couple of takeaways towards the end that I would like to mention.
Oh yeah, let's go through your talking points.
Yeah, I think that just the three takeaways that I had, it was interesting because when I thought about them, it has to do with art and just life in general. And the first one, I was definitely thinking about painting, but it applies to so much. And I think that be more in your heart than in your head. I think both are really important, especially in painting. You need that knowledge, you need that foundation, but don't forget about the heart. Don't forget about why you're painting. Don't forget about just, what you're feeling. And I think it's really easy to lose one or the other. Is to totally just be in your heart and it's, not obvious to anybody else, maybe but yourself, or to be so technical and in your head that it loses the inspiration. But it's that balance of intuition and intellect. The second one is really funny because obviously I've spent a lot of time by myself in the studio in the past year. So I talk to myself a lot, not out loud, but in my head. And so my second one is let go of the inner critic. So the inner critic, whether we're painting or whether we're cooking or whatever, my conversation kind of went like this. Oh, this is fun. Oh, it's so challenging. What am I doing? This is terrible. I'm terrible. Well, this isn't too bad. I like it. So you go through this full circle. And I think it's really easy when you're painting to just all of us have this inner critic on your shoulder, like, oh, this isn't working out. You can't do it. It's just, you know, I call my husband a lot every once in a while. It doesn't happen too often, but all of a sudden I go, I just killed it. I killed the painting. It was really good and I just killed it. But I think it's important to listen to that inner voice, like, what's that about? But and then just boot them out of the way. The series of paintings that I've worked on over the last 3 months are more abstract that I was talking about, and they were really, really difficult. Abstract is really difficult, and it was the most difficult thing for me to stay with it. And I felt it was a lesson I was really trying to teach myself, is to stay with being uncomfortable. Don't just go back to my old way of painting that I know is predictable. I know I can do, I know it sells. I really wanted to explore abstract. And in order for me to stay feeling uncomfortable, I had to like push that inner critic aside. I really had to just go, okay, just stay with it. And it was such a challenging time and really, really worthwhile. So I would say the importance of letting go of that inner critic is it's amazing what you can learn when that gets out of the way. The last one is to be a risk taker. My favorite quote by Yogi Berra is, if there's a fork in the road, take it. And I feel like you need to jump in with whatever you're doing. You just need to jump in. Nobody's going to be over here saying you can't do that. And it's a way that you have to stretch too. You have to take risks. Opening the gallery was a huge risk. I had no idea that that would be successful at all. And it took a couple of years for it to really get going. I took a risk in closing. I took a risk in doing these abstracts. I don't know if I'm going to be successful in that, but it's exciting. It's exciting time. So those are my 3 takeaways.
Excellent. We've got some questions. Jeff wants to know, how are some of the other artists you know responding in the COVID era? Is everybody as positive as you are?
There's a lot of people that are really enjoying the time just painting without interruption and doing that. A lot of people are really missing the conversation. I went and did some plein air painting down in Marysville yesterday with 2 other artists. And it was really great to just have that conversation with other artists, of just getting out. I think it's a real mix, because a lot of people are nervous financially. Some people are just anxious, period. I think it just kind of depends on your personality type, how much fear is there and with the unknown.
Right. Yeah, well, that's not just the artists, that's everybody, right?
Yeah.
Paul wants to know more about what abstract means to you. How does traditional composition intersect?
The traditional composition?
What does abstract mean to you? He wants to know more about your new paintings, I think.
Yeah, I hesitate in even calling them abstract, actually, because I've always done contemporary landscape painting. It always leans towards a landscape. So I call it abstract now, and it's still going towards a landscape. I guess more abstract to me means it's much more interpretive. It's not quite as literal. Um, I can work with shapes and forms and line a lot more and patterns and just I'll bring you over to one that I'm still working on. So if we can be flexible with this, okay, this is not my phone, it's my laptop.
Cool. Oh yeah, look at that.
So, you can say, what is it?
What is it?
But all of a sudden, somebody's going to say, oh yeah, it's a field, it's whatever. I don't know. I'm enjoying doing it, but abstract to me is just not quite as representational, let's say.
Yeah, it's beautiful. I like the colors.
Oh, thanks. Thank you.
Eric says, I've been taking online lessons from Canadian artist Dominique Modlinski, but looking to take lessons here locally. Do you provide lessons or know of anyone locally that provides lessons?
I used to teach workshops. Right now, I'm not, because I'm just reveling in like having plenty of time to paint right now. You could definitely go to my website and shoot me an email. I'll add you to my workshop list. I do have an email that goes out about every 2 months with shows my newest work and shows, and there might be a workshop coming up then. The online workshops are they're amazing. You can learn a lot. Even if you have a question on it, one simple technique, how do I mix green or glazing a painting? I think and the online things were happening, way before the Zoom teaching, just with YouTube alone. So I think it's just a great thing to do, either in the meantime or depending on your location.
Great. And Conrad put your website up there with your email link. Ross says, business and artistic creativity is like oil and water. Do you feel more free now that you have shed some business responsibilities?
So I want you guys to know, this is not any sort of circuitous little relationship, but I met Ross on Instagram. He was an artist that I started to follow, that I just loved his work. He does these cool, so on Instagram, his page is haute, like haute couture. So it's haute oyster. And he does he's in LA, and he does these fabulous oil paintings of more of a cityscape. And so here I am in the country. I go, oh, I love these. Very kind of Diebenkornish, kind of contemporary. You'll see, Venice Beach, Ocean Park. He does amazing work. And he's just he's humble and he's starting in his career, but they're really, really good. So anyways, we kind of go back and forth. And so when he told me he was going to join today, I was really excited. So Ross, I'm really glad. So what was the question? Sorry.
He wants to know if you're happier now that you don't have a gallery to worry about.
Well, you talked about business and creativity, I think. I've always had this right brain, left brain thing going on, always. When I was a little girl, one of my first art projects was painting rocks with flowers. However, I had a roadside stand. So I had my stand out there, not with lemonade, but with these rocks and my little money box. So I was an early entrepreneur. I loved business, always. So when I started graphic design, that was definitely heavy in the business side as well as creative. And I've always, and even to this day, I mean, I don't just sit here and paint all the time. I mean, I update my website, I work on social media, I write press releases, I correspond with collectors. I use Photoshop a lot to show my collectors what my painting would look like in their room. There's a lot of this techie side or business side along with the creative. I think the biggest challenge for me has always been, you got to separate it. This is the time for business This is the time for creative. To do that back and forth thing can be a little neurotic, but I actually love the business side of it. A lot of people said, oh, when I gave up my graphic design business about 5 years ago, and they said, oh, I bet you were, you must have been really burned out. I says, actually, I wasn't. I really loved graphic design, but I knew I couldn't do both. I wanted to do painting. So I kind of am not the stereotypical, I don't know, got burned out on design and now I want to do art. I like all of it.
Would you ever go back to graphic design if you had to?
If I had to?
Would you want to? No?
No.
No, okay.
No, it is hard for me when I get a call from a customer, especially when I've worked with, would you do this one little thing? Oh, it's so hard to say no, but I know it's the right thing. I just needed to move on. Yeah.
Great. Any other questions, folks, before we wrap up here? LeeAnn, thank you very much. I do hope that somewhere, I guess maybe the studio tour will come see your paintings.
It would be great. It would be great. Yeah. And thanks to everyone for coming. And I just really, last word, I just want to say how important our Center for the Arts is like you can actually go in there now and see art. So if you feel like you need to be healed a little bit, no matter whether you like the particular style that's showing or not, see it in person because you will feel your neurons shifting.